Can Australian men flirt? Are they romantic? There is a great article, very entertaining article in The Guardian today that argues that Aussie men can't flirt in comparison with American men. This person recently went overseas to the US and observed that American men were a lot more forward, just simply in complimenting you, asking about your relationship status, eye contact, just very polite, in a polite way, not a creepy way, as opposed to Australian men who might give you a little glance, up and down look at the bar, give you a wink if you're lucky. But the observation from this particular person was, compared with American men, the Australian doesn't know how to flirt at all. Are Australian men romantics, do you think? Have you got a grand gesture you can tell me about that might put this argument to bed for us? 133 693, I want to know. What's the most romantic thing perhaps your partner has done for you? Joining us now is Karina Chapman, dating coach, relationship expert. Karina, hello. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, Laura.
Do Aussie men know how to flirt?
Look, they do, but the way that they flirt is so subtle that we miss it most of the time. So then we have the perception that they actually don't know how to flirt. They're nowhere near as out there as the Americans, that's for sure. But I think it is a bit of a cultural difference between the two. So they can flirt, but they could definitely get better at it.
When you say subtle, what do you mean?
So they might subtly look across at you, maybe do a little nod. If you are lucky, you might get a wink, but even that is rare. But they don't really initiate direct flirtatious action as such. They're more subtle, and research shows that 28% of the time, that's how much that they are caught. They catch the flirting 28% of the time, the rest of the time, no. And that's the same for men and women. We're not very good at picking up the subtle clues, and they can be misinterpreted. So we don't do anything. So therefore, we miss connections.
So when you say it could get better, how do you get better at flirting without crossing that line into being maybe a bit too creepy?
Exactly. We definitely don't want creepy. So it's about, I think, practicing direct and respectful initiation. So rather than relying on a subtle signal of eye contact or a nod, learn to initiate a simple conversation. So you might say, "Hi, I noticed your hair looks amazing," or "Your top looks fabulous," whatever it might be. So compliment them. It caught my eye. Do you mind if I say hello? That's not a creepy way of doing it, and it puts forward a compliment in a way that isn't taken the wrong way usually. So that's a really good way. Sort of respectful directness shows the interest, but there's no pressure there.
So obviously there's a lot of people meeting online, interacting online these days with, dating apps and all of that. Has that contributed to people not knowing how to flirt?
It really has, yes. Some people can hardly even type out a whole sentence online. They'll use abbreviations, and there's just no connection there. So it's pretty hard to read what's happening online because you haven't got all of the stuff that helps, like the eye contact, the smile, body language, gestures. We can't tell any of that. So I think a lot of people are wanting to get offline and be, meeting people in real life, but they're just not quite sure how.
What is the best way to make a move or show someone that you're interested, in your view?
I think that firstly, you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself because let's face it, rejection is not nice. So be confident first and approach people in a casual setting, like a neutral setting, maybe a cafe or at an event or something, and have the goal of creating a conversation rather than looking for someone to perhaps date, because that changes your whole vibration and how you interact. If you're just thinking, "Oh, it'd be nice to have a conversation with a nice person, that person over there looks pretty good, I'll compliment them and say hi, see where it goes." So that type of stuff is like a low-risk practice, and that helps you to build confidence and to start opening up conversations with new people.
Question from our panel operator, Antonio. Can you learn how to flirt?
You can, definitely. You can learn how to read and respond to signals from people because it's not just talking, it's recognising when someone really wants to engage with you. So, for example, if there was a sustained eye contact and smile, they keep looking at you and smiling, that's a positive. They maybe have got engaged open body language. They're not sitting with like their arms crossed or leaning away from you. They're leaning in, they're engaged, they're open. And even maybe they might mirror gestures. So if they're doing the same as you, that's a positive thing. So we can definitely learn how to flirt and how to read and respond to signals and move forward instead of not even engaging at all.
Antonio, do you have a question for Karina while she's on the line?
No, thank you.
I'm going to be in deep trouble after this. I'm going to be in deep trouble.
You already are.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll deal with this after the show. Everyone doesn't have to get dragged into our little spat here. Look, just finally, is it an art that has sort of been fading over time because of what's been happening online, or is this just always the way that the sort of Australian guy has been? We're known for typically being, pretty relaxed, maybe just not being used to sort of grand romantic gestures. There would be a lot of blokes now that are quite different to men that grew up in a different time where, there was more chivalry. It was a matter of social etiquette to open the door for women, for example.
That's right. And I do think it is a cultural thing with Australians. Like, traditionally, we're more laid back and we're not probably the traditional romantic that we might think, say, the French are, or even as this article said, the guys in the US. But there is definitely signs. We just have to bring them out or be aware of them. So this casual approach is more of the Aussie guys prefer hanging out, having a casual drink, that sort of stuff. They don't really plan a formal date. And often that kind of just goes into a couple status by default, like you're not really having a series of structured escalating dates. And once you realise that and you readjust your expectations, then you can have a lot more success. Because some men are definitely romantic. It's not all. We're not saying all men are unromantic in Australia, but it's generally not something that we talk about a lot. And we want to be cool and casual in Australia, and that doesn't include going up and asking people's numbers on the street or approaching strangers. That's all a bit too much and a bit cringy. So I think there's that cultural hesitancy towards big emotional expression in public or anything that's maybe a bit too intense. So I think they could get better at it, though, because there's nothing nicer than someone complimenting you and saying hi and making you feel good. So even if you don't get a positive result, it's a good thing to get into the practice of doing it. And one day you just never know who you might connect with and what could come of it.
Karina, thanks for coming on.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.